MP Van der Belt, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to thank both witnesses for the work that you're doing and for your testimony today. I think all of us, we all have constituents who are writing to us, and we're seeing the images coming out of Cuba, and there is a tremendous concern to help the people of Cuba and to provide some humanitarian assistance, as our government announced yesterday. I'm very interested in how Canada can use our assistance, both in terms of the long-term stability and helping the actual Cuban people, but also as leverage in order to get the sort of economic and governance reforms that you were talking about. And also, I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification, because I've worked with UN agencies, and often the way that just to reassure you, your Canadian aid typically isn't in goods or cash. Often it'll be the World Food Program that will work with communities directly with women, help them to purchase agricultural goods, and then have them cook the goods and then be able to distribute. So I just wonder if there could be a little bit of, we want to make sure our aid gets to the right place. I think that's what all of us want. We heard this week that from our own officials that often it's going to things like renewable energy locally, or it's going to increasing yields for women agricultural producers and things like that. So if you could clarify a little bit, because I don't want to have a message that we shouldn't be sending aid, but then how do we turn that around and use that to get the kinds of reforms and desirable outcomes that we're all looking for?
Thank you for the question. And I would like to appreciate also every Canadian that is worried about the situation in Cuba. A lot of our friends for over 20, 30 years are also worried. And you know what? Cubans, Canadians are also worried, because even if we want to help our families, we have no way right now to do so. So that aside, I would like to highlight that we are not saying not to send aid, and we are not saying not to cooperate with people on the ground. We do understand Canada is principled when it comes to assisting humanitarian crisis, and it's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that while the regime representative came to this floor and said the things that he said, I recommend that this committee do not take that at face value, because they will paint a picture that they will have used those funds to construct this, to construct that. Please do not believe. The same afternoon, he was saying that the government, the regime in Cuba supports peace. There was a UN resolution being voted on, and while he was telling this chamber that the regime supports peace, they were voting no in the UN resolution for a peace in Ukraine. Like I say, they go to United Nations and they tell United Nations that military compulsory service in Cuba for teenagers is not obligatoire, is not mandatory. It is mandatory. In Holguin, there are 9 young people who lost their life because they sent teenagers to handle life ordnance. And they blew, and instead of recuperating the bodies, or instead of asking Canada for assistance to recuperate the bodies, they poured cement where those poor souls were blown up. So do not take what they say as the truth. We have, like I said, we won't reveal names here for the protection, but we can share with the committee via separate correspondence the name and the point of contact throughout Cuba in many, many provinces, except Havana, because like I said, in Havana, Caritas, for example, has so much help already that they have a human resource gap to distribute that help. So they were honest with us last week, and they said, even if you send us help right now, we cannot distribute it because we have so much to distribute, which is music to our ears. So should Canada like to distribute aid directly to the people, we are putting our hand up to help coordinate that distribution so it reaches good port. Thank you.
Ms.